You don't hate discipline. Neither your brain nor your mind likes to be disciplined. Or maybe discipline hates you. You sit down to do something important. Your body is there, but your mind is not. You reach for your phone, you promise yourself just 2 minutes. Then somehow, it's night. And the worst part? It's not that you don't care. You do. That's why it hurts. That quiet guilt, that subtle disappointment in yourself, that voice that says, you could be more than this. But here's the truth most people never hear. Your brain is not wired to love discipline. At least, not yet. And that changes everything. Let me tell you a story. There was a young man, smart, ambitious, full of plans, the kind of person who could sit for hours imagining a better life. He saw it clearly, the success, the calm confidence, the control. But when it came time to act, he stalled. Every time. He tried everything, motivation videos, strict schedules, even punishments. Nothing lasted. Discipline felt like punishment, like forcing himself into a life he didn't enjoy. One day, exhausted, he asked a simple question. What if the problem isn't me, but how I'm trying to do this? That question changed his life, because he stopped trying to force discipline and started training his brain to like it. And here are 9 things you can do to make your mind and brain love discipline and make it happen. Number 1. The brain doesn't chase discipline. It chases reward. Your brain has one main job: keep you safe, conserve energy, seek pleasure. Discipline, at first, feels like the opposite of all 3. It demands effort. It delays reward. It feels uncomfortable. So your brain resists it. Not because you're lazy, because you're human. Think about it. Scrolling feels easy, an instant reward, no effort. Working hard, slow reward, high effort. Your brain is simply choosing what it has been trained to prefer. Here's the shift. You don't build discipline by forcing effort. You build it by rewiring what your brain sees as rewarding. That's the game. And once you see it, you stop fighting yourself and start working with yourself. Number 2, start smaller than your pride can accept. Most people fail at discipline because they start too big. They aim for perfection. Wake up at 5 a.m., work out for an hour, study for 4. Sounds impressive, but your brain sees it as a threat. Too much change, too much effort, so it pushes back, hard. The young man in our story made a strange decision. He reduced everything. Instead of study for 2 hours, he said, open the book. That's it. Just open it. No pressure to read, no pressure to understand, just open. It felt almost stupid, but something interesting happened. He started doing it every day. No resistance, no mental battle, because the task was too small to reject. And slowly, opening the book became reading a page, then 2, then 10. Discipline didn't arrive as a force, it grew with familiarity. Your brain likes what feels familiar, so make discipline familiar, even if it feels insignificant at first. Number 3, remove the drama around effort. One of the biggest mistakes people make, they attach emotion to discipline. This is hard. I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like it. These thoughts create friction, and friction kills consistency. The young man noticed something. He wasn't tired because of the work. He was tired because of thinking about the work, the negotiation, the resistance, the inner argument. So he changed one thing. He stopped asking himself how he felt and started acting without discussion. No debate, just action. At first, it felt robotic, but over time, it became peaceful. Because discipline stopped being emotional.
It became automatic, like brushing your teeth. You don't debate it, you just do it. That's where real discipline lives, not in motivation, but in neutrality.
Number 4. Make it easy to start, hard to escape. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Always. If distractions are within reach, your brain will choose them. Not because you're weak, because your brain follows the path of least resistance. So change the path. The young man rearranged his space. Phone in another room, book on the table, laptop open to the exact task. No friction to start, maximum friction to quit. Now, when he sat down, there was nothing else to do. So he did the work. Simple, but powerful. Discipline is not about control. It's about design. If you rely on willpower, you will fail. If you design your environment, you reduce the need for willpower. And suddenly, discipline feels easier. Number 5. Reward the behavior, not the outcome. Most people reward results, good grades, finished project, big win. But your brain learns through immediate feedback, not delayed success. So if the reward comes too late, the brain doesn't connect it to the behavior. That's why discipline feels unrewarding. The young man changed this. He started rewarding himself immediately after the effort, not after success, after showing up. Even something small, a break, a favorite song, a short walk. It told his brain, this behavior feels good. And slowly, the brain started craving it because it associated discipline with reward, not suffering. That's the shift. You don't wait to feel good after success. You teach your brain to feel good after effort. Number 6. Identity before action. Here's something subtle. You don't act disciplined to become disciplined. You become disciplined, then act accordingly. Sounds backwards, but it's not. The young man stopped saying, I need to be more disciplined. He started saying, I am someone who shows up. Small difference, big impact. Because identity shapes behavior. If you see yourself as inconsistent, your actions will match. If you see yourself as disciplined, even imperfectly, you start aligning with that version, not instantly, but gradually. Your brain likes consistency between identity and action, so it nudges you to act in ways that confirm who you believe you are. Change the belief, and the behavior follows. Number 7. Make boredom your ally. Discipline is boring. There's no way around it. Repetition, routine, predictability. But boredom is not the enemy. It's the training ground. The young man noticed something uncomfortable. Every time he felt bored, he escaped. Phone, music, anything. He never stayed. So his brain learned boredom equals escape. He reversed it. He stayed, even when it felt slow, even when nothing exciting happened. And over time, his tolerance increased. Boredom stopped feeling unbearable. It became normal. And with that, discipline became sustainable. Because most disciplined people aren't more motivated, they're just more comfortable with boredom. Number 8. Track effort, not perfection. Perfection is fragile. One mistake, and you feel like you failed, so you stop. The young man stopped tracking outcomes. He tracked effort. Did I show up today? Yes or no? That's it. No judgment, no overthinking, just honesty. And something interesting happened. He became more consistent. Because the goal was simple. Show up, even imperfectly, even briefly. Consistency built momentum. Momentum built confidence. And confidence made discipline feel natural. Number 9. Make discipline personal. If discipline feels forced, it won't last. You need a reason, not a loud one, a quiet, personal one. The young man asked himself, why does this matter to me? Not to impress others, not to meet expectations, but to feel something. Pride, freedom, control. He found his reason, and it anchored him, because when discipline is connected to meaning, it stopped feeling like an obligation. It became a choice. Your brain resists what feels forced, but it commits to what feels meaningful. Find your reason, and discipline becomes lighter. Number 10. Accept that you will still resist. Here's the final truth. Even after all this, you will still feel resistance. That never fully disappears, but it changes. It becomes quieter, more manageable, less convincing. The young man still had days when he didn't feel like doing anything, but now that feeling didn't control him because he understood it. It was just his brain trying to conserve energy, not a command, just a suggestion. And he didn't have to follow it. That's discipline. Not the absence of resistance, but the ability to act despite it. Calmly, consistently, without drama. So where does this leave you? You don't need more motivation. You don't need stricter rules. You don't need to become someone else. You need to train your brain differently. Make discipline small. Make it familiar. Make it rewarding. Make it part of who you are. And most importantly, stop fighting yourself. Because the moment discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like alignment, everything changes. Let me leave you with this. Discipline is not about forcing your life into control. It's about creating a version of you that doesn't need to be forced. And that version? It's not far away. It's built one small, quiet decision at a time.